Well, it would at certain times, when you get at that interchange there, clogged up all the way to Doors Avenue, the semis, so, you know, if you're sitting there parked, you're probably better off going out to 55 and coming around.
Does a lot of your business go east on 80, or don't we know from day, does it change from day to day?
A lot does, yeah. The material part, I would say, for us, based on the nature of the clients that we service, slightly more goes 80 east than down into the city. And you know, I can't speak for Walmart and people like that, but you're basically looking at what you guys do, retail distribution. Where's more of your stuff? We go east on 80 or down or west or back into the city?
East and up to the city.
Yeah.
That's where most of them just come from.
You go east on 80 to get to Chicago?
To get to Chicago, we'll probably take it just 55 straight up.
Okay. But a lot of your traffic goes east on 80.
East.
Well, how would this affect you with this road crossing?
Yeah, there's other options, and then if this was to close, and then the next follow-up question, where's all this traffic then ending up? Are we going to have the same problem on our side? You know, and so forth. We have residents out there, and all this, they're seeing a lot more traffic and so forth. So we might solve one problem, or are we going to create another one in another area? But as for, I mean, I would like to see it closed, but I know that we could probably work around it.
Okay. Well, okay.
It makes me concerned that you've got, if that is closed, you've got everything through this whole pretty large regional engine in the port going down one street. You've got everything in one place, which is risky. There could be an accident, you know, particularly this time of year. You get somebody who skids and something happens. You've got everything backed up, and it could get a substantial water tank pretty quickly.
Yeah, I think another factor may be if you close that down, not only will the truck traffic change, but you know, I don't know how much truck traffic is allowed to go through the city or the village, but when the associates are coming to work or leaving work, it's going to force them to go through town rather than take the long way. So increased pedestrian traffic or small car traffic through the village that you're not seeing right now. So that becomes a whole separate issue.
Does Walmart, do your trucks use a lot of strong out?
So our inbound are mainly consolidated within Center Point, between rail yards. But our outbound trucks are going to be the ones that will use that. So the way we ship out, we're probably 70% will go down 55 to 80 or 55 either way. The other 30% will probably go out 53 and then take 80 down towards the lower part of the state. So it will be an impact just because of the sheer number of trucks that we have going out. During our peak season, we can be shipping out 350 trucks in a day. So a pretty significant impact to our facility. And we're located right there in the corner, so it's easy of access out to a main road.
I want to go back to the point about Union Pacific doing everything they can to keep that crossing open. Did you mention the letter they sent last Friday to the Illinois Commerce Commission?
I'm trying not to.
Okay, well, they sent a letter asking that the funeral processions be required to obey the traffic signals at intersections. So if the traffic signal turns to red, the funeral procession, the next vehicle in line would have to stop and obey that traffic signal. And there's apparently precedent for that elsewhere in the state for trucks to, or for vehicles to obey traffic signals even when they're in a funeral procession. And then secondly, Union Pacific approached us informally, so not formally yet, but informally about the two railroads jointly covering the costs for having a railroad or community police officer serve as a crossing guard at the crossing during peak times. So that we've not gone beyond just a casual conversation about it. And that's certainly not a permanent solution, but it's something that could be implemented quickly. kind of along the lines of the officer that we use outside the gate of our facility to direct traffic in peak periods.
It'd probably take a half a dozen at that intersection. One big one person, one
It would
other.
take more than one, that's for sure.
Pardon me?
It would definitely take more than one officer there. I mean, that's baseline in Mississippi, at your entrance there is what I would call a pretty simple intersection. You're dealing at Walter Strong and 53, with a very complex intersection. When we respond there, as a matter of fact, by policy now, I have officers requesting assistance there if we have to direct traffic, if it's a single officer. It's just, certainly with an officer, quite honestly, sometimes a traffic cop at an intersection can make it worse. But having said that, one officer alone in there, I'll really have a difficult time with that. It would be a very big challenge.
This was a suggestion by Wes Livermore, and I think he thought that the officer would be strictly working within the confines of their own property to ensure that the trucks not stop at, in such a way that they're blocking the crossing. But I understand it's a complicated diagnostic at that
It's
intersection.
certainly something to kind of consider and talk through and work around, see if we can come up with, if that's a possible option. But on its face, the one officer concept or one person being across the yard or that person there, I don't think it's as simple as that.
I think when we had the incident out there was a guy out there.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, when that incident occurred, there were two officers there directing traffic, and the commander and the patrol officer. And, they had a real difficult time trying to clear the intersection, and obviously didn't even clear it fast enough when this incident occurred. So.
One of the things that we brought up and talked about also is the funerals are basically, I guess you guys would know better, but they're like roughly between 10 in the morning and 2:30 or 9:30 and 2:30?
Between 9:30 and 2:30, yeah.
I mean, could we do anything during those time periods? I know it's a busy time for you guys, but is there anything that could be coordinated with the cemetery? We get roughly about 30 a day we average.
Well, we've had as high as 37.
And that's gonna add, it's just gonna get bigger and bigger. The other thing we're experiencing too is there's starting to be more and more visitors out there that want to return. So I think when one time we counted there was like 1,500, now they're up to 3,000 or 4,000, that they're getting out there. So that number's gonna grow also. Could you guys coordinate to that level to when funeral processions are in business?
I don't
Smiles.
know. I don't know if it'd be possible, based on drivers' hours to work. Coordinated that close. The ramp is open 24/7, so that's not the obstacle. It'd be the driver's work hours, I think.
Yeah, I would say just due to the volume that we have to bring in or out, we normally run a second shift team that is doing our drayage or moving trailers around that are going to go in and out. I mean,
That wouldn't be an option.
it would be a tough option for us.
I have a question for, the businesses that are represented here. If we have a magic wand and we were able to restrict traffic coming from 53 over the railroad tracks, the UP line, only to the drivers that are using our facility and not the pass-through, that wouldn't affect your businesses at all, right?
That's a brilliant idea.
That's a great idea. I don't know how you manage it.
But it seems like that's one of the issues that is concerns the ICCs, the amount of volume of semis and truck traffic going over the UP line. So if we were able somehow to restrict that, that would be a potential solution.
Well, not to pick on the truck drivers again, but you'd have a lot of people coming in there making that turn or trying to make that turn that weren't aren't part of that group. Meanwhile, my trucks are running back and forth across the board. They're going to be jumping up and down.
Well, it's not.
Saying, why can't I?
There would be a way to do it.
So you're saying limit it to local traffic only?
Yeah, not pass through, and it's a matter of making a couple of changes on the roadways, and this is just something that we thought about, but, you know, we want to hear from you since you're the end user, so if you make really 2 changes, one change will be a road that's, I think it's called Center Point Drive right in front of Walmart. If you make that road southbound only, and at the intersection of Walter Strong and Baseline, we redesigned that so there's no right turn. At that point, all the traffic that comes in the facility stays here. Those are the only 2 changes that we have to make. Now, in your case, probably helps you a lot because you have 2 turn lanes into your facility, but this will create 2 really long lanes coming from the north into your facility.
Yeah, I just don't know how much traffic uses that other than Walmart. So if that's gonna put a lot more, if that's gonna put a lot more traffic through that in a norm peak, if I'm backed up.
That's somebody else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Would affect us. That would make all of our drivers have to go southbound. So, in essence, I would have I'd have to go through the UP yard to get out some way to 53.
You don't exit onto Mississippi at all.
So you're saying no trucks could go?
But you can't go Mississippi, I can't go through downtown.
No.
But you're only.
If it was southbound,
Right, you're only talking about one
Yeah,
way.
so I gotta go all the way around, is that?
southbound,
I
you
guess
go
I
right to
could do
Strong
that.
Road now.
Yeah, you go to Swan.
And if you're-
Southbound, I have it backwards, I'm
Yeah.
sorry. So you said southbound.
Did I-
Southbound.
Yeah, so I'd have to go through the intersection down in front of the intermodal yard to get out to us and ITL, who's down at the end of the building. The 2 of us would have to go through the intersection at Baseline and Walter Strong to get out to 55.
Or we could redesign, because the design issues are right here, right? The Walmart entrance and the Clearwater entrance. So if we would somehow were able to redesign this small area to where both of you are able to come in and out, probably in either direction, but the traffic from here cannot go through and vice versa, then I think that would be a potential solution.
Yeah, all we're trying to do is if I can go out that way and turn left down Mississippi, to get to 55, or I can go out and turn right to get to 53. Those are the 2 directions that we tend to go.
Yes.
And if you put, if you put restrictions on it and make the traffic on this, what happens on Center Point, and you drive it into the intersection of Walter Strong and Baseline, that'll make the congestion in front of the intermodal yard worse.
Yeah, no, we wouldn't, you wouldn't be able to turn, go north in here, but those are the things that we're just throwing it out there, see what the possibilities and the solutions are, and obviously it would have to be a solution that all the businesses here are satisfied with, and at the same time reduces the amount of truck traffic through this crossing over here, because this is really what needs to be done, is to reduce that traffic there. Especially the plans that, increase the number of lifts that we have out there. So it's gonna probably re-increase that number.
Well, if I'm following you, then you're gonna have no truck traffic from Center Point Drive to 53.
From here,
Down to the intersection, they go, would have any truck traffic in that area?
no, there will be. It's just a matter of redesigning Center Point Drive to where it's basically what it comes down is that section of Center Point Drive from Mississippi to Walter Strong, where there shouldn't be any through traffic, but only traffic that goes in and out of Walmart and in and out of Clearwater. If we can somehow resolve that, then we're there.
Is anybody hurt other than Paul by the limiting the Joliet traffic going through?
Well, I don't think.
Say that again, please.
Are any of you guys, I mean, if we limit Joliet's traffic as a pass, does that hurt any of you?
No, it doesn't hurt us. I was kind of joking because, you know, it's a rival to Union Pacific, and it would make it more difficult to access their facilities. So, from a competitive standpoint, I was jokingly saying that. Great for us.
But does that hurt anybody?
Could you define local traffic?
Right?
Could you define local traffic?
The traffic that doesn't use anybody in our park at all, just goes right to Joliet, the Walter Strong baseline. Does that hurt anybody?
From our side, as long as I can get Walter Strom across 53 that I was working on, I'm good. And I take another 2,000, 2,500 to Cypress Medical. So,
I will have some kind of rough sketch on how to redesign this area, really, all we're talking about. Right here. Because there are ways to redesign that so that the traffic into your facilities and in your facilities can go in and out on both directions, yet prohibiting through traffic.
So if you go down at the bottom a little bit, so right there,
Right here.
so this is a secondary gate that we have to use during peak because of the amount of volume that's going in and out. We cannot get it through Center Point Drive just in that one point. So that would definitely be a concern, congestion point
Okay,
for us.
that's good to know. For what
It would be a
look at
huge
this.
impact for us.
Will you be able to do, like, if you exit here, you're heading north, if you're exiting here, you're heading south, will you be able to divide your drivers that way or not?
I'm sure we could. I mean, we'd still have to go down Walter Strong and then over to Arsenal Road if we're going down 55. I mean, again, that's going to probably be 70% of our business.
No, but if you exit here, then you're going towards 55.
Yeah, we're still going to Arsenal either way, right?
Yeah, if you exit here, you go to Arsenal. If you exit here, you can go to 53. Is that something you guys can do or not?
No, I'd have to come down and go back down to baseline this way and then go to Arsenal. I mean, some of it could go to Walter.
Or just go back north, if you go that way. Because one of the changes will be no right turn here.
So that would definitely be an impact if
Okay.
we did the feeder coming out left turn only at the lower part.
Right here. So you had both right and left here, right and left here. Okay.
What
All
does
right,
that
I'll
do
take
you
it.
guys, no right turn on baseline?
we're going straight, so that wouldn't bother us.
So you're going right in?
Going straight up Walter Strong.
Yeah,
Cypress
he's
Place
across
and
the-
across 53.
Yeah, no, but I thought you were making right turns on baseline, but you're not.
No. Well, yeah, depending on what
Oh,
So there's a component that I haven't thought about in this lower facility. 50% of the facility is leased out to Walmart.com, which I have no figures for those guys as far as what their inbound outbound volume is. So the 350 that I'm talking about is just for the upper building and 50% of the secondary building. So that number is going to be significantly higher, especially during the holiday season with the .com orders going up.
Who can we talk to over there?
The general manager's name is Tim Morrison. He's with Walmart.
Now, I know everybody isn't here, but would this affect anybody that you could think of that isn't represented today? I know Cypress Medical isn't here.
Would you give us an extra curb cut, Max? Is that what you would do?
No, it would literally, the configuration, there would have to be some curbs built, but literally the configuration of the entire right of way would have to be redesigned. Yeah, so that you can go north and south, in and out. And they can go, Walmart can go north and south, in and out on both drives. So it might be a little less curves type deal, very, but we'll look at it, we'll have a sketch, let's see if everybody can live with it.
So we'll put something together and throw that out as an option. You guys will have a couple months to look at it. And I guess the other thing we were looking for was some suggestions on, no matter what we do to limit the traffic, you know, like the ICC said, I said, how about if we reduce the traffic? They said, well, 2 trucks would cause this problem, you know, we're handling that, you know, where they stop for the funeral. And, is there anything you guys could think of that we could do at that stoplight that could stop them trucks from straddling that track when there's a funeral? I mean, any kind of thing we could do, warning, make them aware. And it's a problem. I mean, they don't pay attention to signs, I know that. But anything you guys can think of that would eliminate breaking these rail crossings?
Sometimes the funeral processions are their own worst enemies because they get pretty scattered out and you can't really blame the truck drivers for getting in there.
Yeah, I'm not really blaming either one. You know, I can understand, you know, what they, you know, what's going on. But somehow we've got to, you know, we even talked about trying to have the funeral procession be able to detonate, you know, not detonate, but activate the lights.
Yeah, like, like emergency vehicle with the opticons.
But we get funerals from all over the country, actually.
Logistically, it would be extremely difficult to go on. And we'd have to change state law.
But if you guys could
They'll
look at,
turn it off.
if you guys could look at, you know, the situation there, try to come up with some ideas. I mean, basically, it's, the ICC is very concerned about trucks stopping on that crossing, and they do. Right? You know, Paul and I were talking about some other crossings that have problems that never reach the 47 number as far as breaking gates in the rear.
Why don't you route the funeral processions on the inside lane instead of the outside lane? All the trucks in the outside lane.
Eventually, they still have to get over to the south. I agree, that would be an option if Hoff Road wasn't so close to Walter Strong. And quite often, the procession is longer when it's strung out. It actually is entering Hoff Road, and the end of it is still up well north of Walter Strong. So that would be a logical solution, I think, if they weren't so close to each other.
Think about this, okay?
So if, you know, and not to, I know it's not an open checkbook, but as you head out to the Home Depot and stepping out there, you've got the, I think it's the BNSF rail that runs underneath the road. I mean, is that not an option to do a bridge there and have the rail yard go up under it, or the rail go up under it? You know, just from a cost standpoint, I know it's huge, but the impact to the entire area by shutting that off is going to be huge in the long run. And it seems like the only option that I would have, that I could think of that would be, you know, worthwhile for everyone is to run the rail underneath the road. Because, I mean, it seems to be a pretty good solution there.
Is that the area?
Actually, go back. I don't know how old this is, but
Yeah, it's old.
so it's going to be over towards Audubon Country Club a little bit more. All right, come back down.
Where Union Pacific is in a cut?
Yeah,
a bit of a
correct.
trench?
Mhm.
Yeah, that's.
Yeah, it's right before you get to the both Home Depot facilities. Right off Logistics Drive.
Is this how people?
Yeah, there's some people.
Yeah, so it's going to be right here to the bottom of the screen, right there. Mhm.
There's the curve up this by the gate.
That's outside the international corridor.
Understood, but I mean,
I see.
the design works well.
Well, you're saying do that here? Well, I think when we had our meeting, we talked about going over, and it can't go over because of
The grade.
the grade and the cemetery.
You'd have to do something like that where you cut it out and it goes underneath.
Well, it'd be good for us. I think it's, you know, that's an option, is certainly.
Now,
We did talk about it.
I think it's well designed, if you think about it, if you go down there and look at it, it's a pretty good option the way they designed it, and it would fit in that tight area. I just don't know how much length they would need to, not make an issue for the rail, since I'm not an engineer.
But, again, you're a logistics guy, so you deal with truckers all the time. If there's nothing we could do, to make those guys stop and not progress on and interfere with the funeral processions, that's fine. If you got some ideas, we just need to know. Flashing lights, stopping them, way at Deer Path or something. I don't know. If we can stop them farther up on farther west, before they cross. I don't know. You guys would know better than I, but all we know is that when there's any kind of problem out there, that intersection fills up so quick. You wouldn't believe if those gates go down for like a minute. Trucks are all the way down here at Route 53. I mean, it just fills up that quickly. And we just need to come up with some ideas.
All right, why don't we take a little bit of time then, and at our next meeting, we'll bring this back up and maybe better visit some of these options. Okay? All right. Any other comments from our business partners? Things that you'd like to see the Port Authority do, things that you just need to be changed? No? No? Okay. Move on to number 6, Port Authority bylaws.
We think it's a good idea. Thank you.
Good, thank you.
The bylaws, all we're doing is, we want you guys to have this as information. I know we have the ordinance to look at and this. If you guys could look at these and come up with any suggestions you have, study it, give us comments, and the next meeting we have in 2 months, 60 days, we'll come back and discuss those, and then we'll have bylaws prepared as we move forward.
Okay. Item number 7, other business. Max? We've talked a little bit about common signage throughout the industrial park.
Yes, we have 2 big signs. These are just sample signs. They're mainly directional signs. They do have the village logo. We're in the process of creating an actual Elwood International Port logo. That's going to go over there instead of the village of Elwood. These are just sample signs for here, basically, and to test them out on the field. These are all spaces over here where all the names will go up there. Every intersection approach will have one of these signs. Basically, the names go along here. There are 10 spaces for 10 different names. Not all are going to be used at all intersections. And then depending on which way you approach, basically you give them, go straight, make a right turn, etc., etc. The reason we're doing it this instead of the signs already built with all the names is if one business moves, we have to replace all the signs. And this way, all we do is just take that one name out. If they move to another location, all we do is basically turn the little arrow to direct them to the right location. What we talked about is having uniform signs everywhere throughout the inland port. Another thing that we would like to see with everybody's approval is to have basically this same sign 8x4 horizontal with the words Elwood International Port, the Elwood International Port logo, and then with the business name. Both sides of the street of the sign have the business name with a big arrow saying, right here, and to have those in front of each of the 9 or 10 businesses that there are out there, in addition to the existing signs that everybody has out there. It just keeps, if you have a uniform signs out there, you know what you're looking for. You're going to know the logo, the words, the colors, and then it kind of your eyes draw immediately to those signs. So if you're a truck driver, say, you know what you're looking for, overall. So, again, this is here just for conversation, and then hopefully at the next meeting we can, vote on approving it or implementing this type of signs and move on. If there are any questions?
Okay. Also, under other business, we need to talk a little bit about our meeting schedules. Do you think we need to have a meeting every month for a little while to get things rolling, or a meeting every other month? What would be the board's pleasure? quarterly?
I think you've given us a lot to think about, so maybe more often to start with and less often when we get.
Okay, would you like to have a meeting next month then? And does the second Wednesday work for everybody? All right, 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock? Maybe 8 o'clock? Oh, 6 o'clock? Does that work for everybody?
We're all here.
All right, 6 PM, second Tuesday? I'm sorry, Wednesday. The 8th? Okay. January 8th.
That won't work, because that's
Yeah,
our
board
regular
meeting.
board meeting. We had to change ours because of the holiday.
Oh, that's right.
Our board meeting's at 7.
What's that?
Our board meeting's at 7, you could have this at 6.
We can be done in an hour.
You done it all?
You think?
Meet over here.
You're skiing that week?
If it's, I don't know how the rules.
We can move it back.
You know, we can, or if the rules, I could have somebody else from BNSF.
Okay.
It's snowing in the there's some party. You say you're skiing, so we have a little hill.
Oh.
Now in Elwood.
Okay, so go with the 8th at 6.
We'll have to be done in an hour because we have a board meeting at 7 then. If that works, if you want to be consistent with the second Wednesday. Or we can change it if we have to. A nod, a yes or no,
Yeah.
really no. Okay.
So moved.
I mean,
All right, then we're gonna leave it on the 8th, that's it. 6 PM.
another suggestion, if everybody's here, if these meetings last longer than an hour, we can only start at 5:30. That way there is enough time to finish it, because everybody's already here locally.
You may be ready.
You're coming, yeah.
5:30 done?
That's fine.
Everybody else? Okay, 5:30 it is then. And then we'll discuss a meeting schedule next month.